Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's about 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am the Crypto Crow. Thank you for joining me. And Patrick, I don't know why, but that was just kind of funny. Wake up first, woohoo! What? It's fun. I'm a big fan, and I came first. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm glad you're first. If there was anybody to be first in chat today, I'm glad it was you. Crow, gonna play this back when I work in an hour. All right, this might actually be a little bit of a lengthy one because there's a lot of stuff I'm gonna cover, a lot of thoughts, some news, a little of everything in this video. It's Monday, so try to cover just cover a lot of stuff to give food for thought. Finally caught a live episode. Well, welcome. I'm glad you did. Glad to be here. I'm glad to have you, Tyler. Thank you so much. Vince, what's up? Bristol, UK. What's going on, Joe? Ada or Polkadot? Honestly, I think they're both kind of tasty, but I only hold Ada. Perfect. What's up, Melanie? Hopefully you're better. Yo. Hello, Crow. Natasha's even in chat. My thankless moderator who has been very busy. Obviously, the pandemic's been affecting a lot of people. Obviously, Natasha as well. So glad to see you in chat. Cardano is rocking. Well, of course it's rocking. Who you telling? So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started a bit. Just overall, just looking at the general market, looking at the top gainers over the last week. Obviously, anything DeFi related is obviously doing well for the most part. As a matter of fact, I was looking up, in a previous video. I don't know. It's been a couple weeks, I think. I had done a little bit of a growth DeFi project review segment, and I actually invested into this one, and it's blowing up. I mean, it's doing really well. And these DeFi apps, it's crazy because, you look at the price, you're like $26. Man, that's expensive, but these things can go nuts. I mean, volume is up 1188%. I mean, people are definitely diving into growth DeFi. It's Grow token. This is my stake. I actually bought Grow tokens and just staked them. And I honestly, when I see these DeFi applications, I mean, you talk to people and you get an idea and you're like, man, I hope this really works out. I'll throw a little money into it and see what happens. But you don't really think much else of it. And then I noticed that the value was just shot up recently. And I mean, if you look at this, it's just growing. Growth is growing. I will say that. So, we'll see what comes of it. But I just got a haircut and my head is itchy. So I might be a little scratchy. So anyway, yeah, growth DeFi has actually been doing really well. Will it last? I don't know, but there's definitely a lot of volume. Volume's growing, price is growing, things are really growing with growth. So it is what it is. I'm happy. I think when I got in, I think my USD value at the time I got in was, I think it was like 6,800 or something like that. So it's gone up quite a bit. So I'm very pleased. Looking at the CME Futures, now there's a lot of stuff that kind of coincides with what I'm going to be discussing today, because there is a CME Futures gap down here between like 24.5 and 26,000, and there's an article that I'm going to go over that talks about. Let's just move this down here. Key indicators suggest a major Bitcoin correction in the works. Following a nearly 1,000% bull run, on-chain metrics suggest that Bitcoin is bound for a significant correction. The demand for Bitcoin is rising as whales take advantage of every dip to buy at a discount, of course. Regardless, the SOPR indicator forecasts that Bitcoin looks primed to retrace while the on-chain metric forecasts an 80% correction. The $30,000 level could keep falling prices at bay. It's here's the thing. A lot of this stuff would likely have been more accurate, I think, if the institutions weren't buying up every Bitcoin they can. There's the thing when you're talking about institutional money going into Bitcoin. Obviously, one of the things they don't want to do is suffer a great deal of slippage, right? So they're not just dumping market buy orders on all these exchanges, jacking the price up. Some might be if there's no over-the-counter volume, which is very likely because so many of these institutions have been buying up en masse. Now you have the CME Futures. Well, the other thing too is CME is getting ready to launch their, is it today even? I'm not even sure, but CME is getting ready to launch an Ethereum Futures. And while bullish to some degree, it also is going to enable the institutions to start shorting Ethereum, which in some cases is going to cause a lot more dips and volatility to Ethereum than I think people are recognizing or realizing. Long term, that may be a good thing, but I think initially it may be a way of suppressing the price of Ethereum for some time. We'll have to see how that the CME Futures plays out. Because early on with Bitcoin, it was used for a lot of things. It was, I think to some degree, it was used to send Bitcoin up. And I think the reverse of that is it was used to send Bitcoin down. And so, one of the things that I've been looking at a lot more in detail lately is how particular projects are faring against Ethereum, not just the US dollar. Because ultimately with Ethereum being, like the second to Bitcoin, with strong competition in Cardano, Polkadot, and others, I'm more interested in how things are how price action is affecting some of these other alternative coins over Ethereum. So that's basically what I've been looking into. But when I'm looking at Bitcoin, you see Bitcoin's price action, and you see it's pretty volatile. This is a daily chart, so these are daily candles here. And you see we've been kind of struggling a little bit. Now, the question is do we move down from here? Do we kind of close out, a pennant formation here? Like, where does this go? Where does that lead us? Right now, it looks like it's kind of leading us down a bit. And then we might break down here and fill that gap. If we do, obviously, I think to some degree, Ethereum is going to go with it. So at that point, it's a question of what alternative tokens are outperforming Ethereum. So, we'll have to see. Is it primed to retrace? It may very well be. But I don't know if I don't think it's going to retrace 80%. Not in this market. I could be wrong. Anything can happen. Crazier things have happened when it comes to cryptocurrency, but I don't think that is going to be it. Now, if we're looking at Bitcoin's dominance, you can see Bitcoin's dominance has been falling. We got a little peak up yesterday, or even today, but it's already starting to drop. So, and for those of you that don't understand Bitcoin dominance and its relevance to the market, basically as money fund, basically pumps into the price of Bitcoin. People are buying Bitcoin. Generally, people are buying Bitcoin before they buy anything else in the market because you need Bitcoin. And it's one of the most liquid trading pairs. So you can generally buy just about anything else on the market with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin always pumps first, and then when that settles out, people start spending the profit in Bitcoin, or they just start spending the Bitcoin they bought to get into the altcoins that they actually wanted to begin with. And what happens is a chunk of that market cap starts going into the altcoin market. And over time, we start developing this volatile pattern where money's going in and out of Bitcoin to altcoins on a pretty consistent basis, whether that's through bot trading, manual trades, or whatever the case may be. So we're going to see growing volatility even as the general market cap or Bitcoin dominance continues to go down. But we're going to... I think at the peak of the last market, Bitcoin's market dominance was somewhere around 34.5%. So we've got a ways to go, but I think that at that point we're going to see a pretty big market peak. Now, what else is going on? Obviously, you're seeing Ethereum here. Ethereum lately has been doing very well against Ethereum. Or Cardano has been doing very well against Ethereum. This is a daily chart as well. You can see at one point here we peaked up pretty high. We fell. But I also showed in another video that around this time, this was around a time when Ethereum jumped drastically. I mean, this was a jump from like $800 to, $1,200. I mean, pretty fast. I mean, this time period here. And so when we look at this, that is when you can see, well, this isn't it. This is Cardano against Ethereum. But around here is when that Ethereum jump started and started leaving a lot of these altcoins in the dust. It's a very similar situation no matter what you're looking at. However, right now I'm looking at Celsius Network against Ethereum. And, when I first looked at this, I thought, man, that doesn't look good. We got a really strong post $6 pump on Celsius. Obviously, I've been bullish on Celsius since its inception. I hold Celsius. I'm very proud of Alex and his team and everybody over there and what they're accomplishing, because they're just crushing it. And I know that they have a desktop application finally coming. We know that there's obviously a lot of interest in getting Celsius Network onto Cardano when Cardano's ready. There's just a lot of really cool stuff in the works. So why this dip? And then, and I started looking back. This is a daily chart as well. We had a dip back here. We had a 70%, almost 71% correction from this high. And then we did this again back here. This is back December of 2019 up to March of 2020. This was a 73% correction in price before it just basically accumulated for a while and started to rise up again. So ultimately, this has been a pretty significant pattern. But what I'm also seeing is that because of the money, I think this was, I forget what the percentage of growth was here. Let's take a quick look at this. Let's just say this is a bottom and then we wicked up here at the top. That's 1175% growth after that last 70% dip. So if this is just continuing the cycle, because people go in, they buy Celsius tokens, they stake those tokens, they're generating a yield, so forth and so on. Maybe they're taking profits after so long. And so, but this pattern has been pretty consistent. So we're sitting at around 65%. So let's just say, for example, maybe we go down to 70. Okay. So, or we'll even go 71. Well, 71.5%. So let's just say we end up here by the time this pullback is complete. So that we're going to basically, we're going to baseline it right here. That actually looks a little more probable. So we'll say 68%. And then from there, we go up even 1,000%. And here's something. I did some stuff in spreadsheets last night into the wee hours of the morning. I have not slept very much because I've been calculating so much stuff. I've been just kind of losing my mind. I'm not even going to lie. But I mean, you can see, this is 855%. And you can see that Celsius Network has just been doing a very, very good job of outperforming Ethereum pretty consistently since it's, at least for the last year to 2 years. So I'm not worried about Celsius Network. I feel pretty good about it. And when I look at Bitcoin and I think what's happening with Bitcoin, this is the digitalic.net site. You've got the stock to flow and all that stuff. And I saw a clip where Ivan on Tech was talking about this, and basically they take the patterns, and I've done this myself. You just copy paste the price action on a chart and then throw it in front of the next low and try to get an idea. If you extrapolate previous price action over time, and so you try to predict what's coming. And they've done this. They basically just duplicated this pattern a couple of times. And this is basically showing that based on where we're at, if we were to do the same exact thing as the last market, we should be at a $558,000 Bitcoin by the peak of this. By the peak of this market, which they're basically trying to say the peak of this market is like 10/19 of 2021, which actually would make some sense if there's any truth to the logarithmic extensions of the market cycle over time. However, I think, I've done many prediction videos where I've calculated so many different variables to the Bitcoin market and the crypto market overall, and I think I capped out at $280,000 Bitcoin. And I've been saying that now for 2.5 years, or at least 2 years. I can see us hitting a $280,000 Bitcoin at some point by the peak of this market, whenever that may be. But I don't think we're going to $500,000 Bitcoin. But then it's showing later that we do it again, and then we hit a $1.1 million Bitcoin, which I actually do think is likely. I think that, though, to some degree, it's a lot more difficult to move the price of Bitcoin the more expensive it is. However, the opposite to that is, if all these institutions are buying up all the available supply and they're sitting on it, then it lowers what's available. It's the same with Cardano. Like 67-68% of all Cardano now. A lot of people used to complain, like, there's so many ADA tokens. When's Cardano going to burn them? And Charles would be like, you're nuts. What's the point of that? It doesn't really do anything. It gives you a temporary like FOMO spike in price, but it doesn't actually mean squat. They already knew what they wanted to do. Now 67+% of all ADA is being staked, which means it's not even on the market. So ultimately you have the leftover, you've got less than 30% of the total supply available on the markets, and that's slowly going down as more people accumulate. They buy more, new people are entering the market, and they're staking it. So now you have less available supply on the exchanges, and that's ultimately what happens to what's available on exchanges, is what ultimately dictates what happens to what's being held. So if all these institutions are holding Bitcoin and they're not selling it or trading it or, trying to scout trades on the 5-minute, then you've got a lot less supply. And so with that, it could very well be true that, Bitcoin exceeds $280,000. But I just don't necessarily see that happening in this market. That would mean we've gone from $4,000 to $280,000 in 2 years. I guess it's possible for sure. And if it is possible, it could very well be likely, but we'll just have to wait and see. But what I like my Celsius. I like my ADA. And I will tell you something else. I'm going to tell you about a super underrated token that was blowing my mind last night as I was digging into it, trying to figure out what's happening. And chances are you don't hold any of it. And a part of me believes, so I'm going to give you the pros and cons of this, okay? But there is a token out there that I actually invested into a long time ago. It's underperformed Ethereum for a long time. And I'm a bag holder, but I really like what they're like. I would consider this a passion project for me. It's one that I look into and I'm like, what you guys doing? And they say all this amazing cool stuff that nobody knows about. They're like the crazy uncle that's working in his basement alone in the dark, but he's doing like shit to change the world, but he doesn't tell anybody. It's not quite that bad. But the project I'm talking about is Phantasma, the Soul token. These guys are just, the price is down almost 19%. It's sitting at 11 cents, which to me is nuts. And it's been getting a little bit of growth, but volume is not that high. Not even $500,000 of in daily trade volume, although volume is up 10%. That's great. But these guys are busting out some quality stuff. And I was messing around with this last night a bit, because I have like a wallet with all kinds of NFTs. I've got a couple of the rare race cars and like a whole bunch of parts. And I was looking at the market, and the thing of it is it's kind of segmented. So it's like, you can have your wallet that does your transactions, and you can do your stuff with Neo or Soul or, what Ghost or whatever you want. And then you've got like the market application, whether that's online or through an app. And then you've got Pavilion, which basically is a bridge between like Steam games and the Phantasma blockchain. They've got all this stuff, right? And they've created all these different apps and things. And but I told him last night, I'm like, you guys need one central hub that is super easy to use, that allows people to access everything across the board. Because right now you got to go over here to this building, or, you know, it's like a college campus, right? It's like, you know, go over here to the administration building, over here's the art building. It's like, what if this is the digital age, it should all be under one roof. Right. So that's what I would like to see someday in the future, because I do believe it would help adoption. And then I gave him some other kind of pointers. But if you're interested, go read about this. Came out December 21st, 2020. So this is pretty recent. It's only a 7-minute read. Welcome to Phantasma 2.0. Go check it out, because these guys are doing so much cool stuff. And I will say that some of the drawback is their UIs just aren't fluid or pretty. I hate to say it, but I just feel like if these guys had a really strong UI designer, and I'm so sorry, I don't want to knock whoever it is, but it just feels so 80s to me. And I'm thinking, you know, if these guys had something that just drew me in more, and it was more all encompassing for I think this stuff would just start really taking off. Because I kind of feel like I'm logging into a BBS on a 2800 baud modem, just based off of the look and feel. And I think that's a big part of what I think is potentially holding it back. Let me know in the comments below. If you're a Phantasma fan, do you agree with me? Do you think I'm being crazy? Am I being too nitpicky? I don't know, but for me, I want a little bit more. But there's just so much stuff. I mean, you could go through it all. They're doing so many cool things. K-Cow, just check it out. I'm not even going to do a deep dive in this video because I don't want this to take all night. But just check it out. I think you'd actually be very, very happy you did. Phantasma Soul is highly underrated in my opinion. I think if you look at strictly the technology and what they've built, as well as what they're continuing to build and grow on, they're going to be a big runner, man. I mean, their NFT market, you can create your own NFTs right now. Boom, boom, boom. Very easily done. And then it'll all show up right on its own marketplace. There's a lot. I mean, check it out. I think you could literally spend a day going through everything Phantasma Blockchain has built and not be bored, because there's a lot of stuff happening. And it's just surprising to me that the token isn't doing better, because these guys are legitimately building some really fun tech. So I don't know if it's just a matter of these guys needing, like, I don't know. I don't know what these guys need to really start sending them to the moon. But I'm hoping they discover it soon. Like, their race car app is really cool. I don't know. I still haven't figured it out. Like, what is it? Maybe it's just the UI. I don't know. All right. Decred co-founder explains the possible effects of a CBDC takeover. How would mass scale CBDC issuance impact the crypto space? Over the course of 2020, numerous countries across the globe raced towards their own digital versions of their currencies, known as central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Sounds like it should have oil at the end of it, but it doesn't. The crypto industry still has its selling points, however, even if most countries launched CBDCs, according to Jake Yocom-Piot, co-founder of crypto project Decred. I expect many nation states will create their own CBDCs in the not-so-distant future, but there's a key differentiator between CBDCs and cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies, e.g. Bitcoin and Decred, are fundamentally fairer systems than fiat currencies. So while CBDCs may adopt many cryptocurrency features, they cannot compete on fairness. That's true, but that's not even really the goal, right? I mean, we're not trying to create open source stable tokens for the economy, right? We're trying to, ultimately what these banks are trying to do is intermingle, cohabitate with blockchain, with cryptocurrencies, which actually does surprise. Well, they want their own. That's why I was gonna say it really does kind of surprise me why they've been going after Ripple, but you know, there might be a lot of stuff that we just don't know behind the scenes on that one. Last year, China led the way in terms of CBDC development pace, while the United States took a slower approach. Recent developments indicate an increased sense of importance around CBDC development in the U.S. CBDCs will likely represent digital versions of countries' dollars, although many details remain in flux at this stage. Look, this is happening. I mean, we can talk about whatever, and we can say if this and that. It's happening. All these countries are going to have their own stable tokens. It's just how it is. Especially if they want to be competitive on any financial level outside of just trying to shut it all down, which would just create an even bigger problem, I think, especially at this point. But let's be real. Government wants to be able to track everything we do. They want to know when we buy a candy bar to a maxi pad to a, whatever. I mean, they want to know everything that we do every day of our lives, whether it's buying that data from Facebook or just, knowing, oh, he's at 7-Eleven buying a Slurpee. He's increased his calorie intake by 3%. Let's send him an ad. I don't know, like Minority Report type stuff. That's the way I see it. When Minority Report was created, they basically sat down with like 20 of the top futurists in the world to figure out what does our future look like? How will it be? And it's happening. I mean, so much of that stuff. You walk into a store or whatever, it recognizes the person there, an ad will start. You know what I mean? The only difference is how much will that advertising medium know about you and your buying habits. So we'll just have to see. But I mean, stable tokens are coming, and the government wants to be able to track these transactions. And while they say, oh, we want to make sure you're not laundering money. Okay, sure, fair enough. But really, what's it really about? It's really about taxes, especially if the way we are taxed continues to go up. They want to make sure nobody's dodging that shit, man. If they want to. This is what's going to help facilitate that. While blockchain technology as a new thing, it is a very significant transfer of wealth that I believe so many people are still ignoring to this day. What it ultimately is it is something that has enabled so many of us to get into the ground floor of a new financial construct that is taking over the globe. So those of us that are here right now, educating ourselves, investing, getting involved, becoming advocates, educators, whatever, it's enabling us to build lifelong wealth. The trade-off of that is we're also ushering in what's ultimately going to be another chain, I believe, around our wrists and ankles. Because, for someone like me, I don't really care. Because I feel like, if you're not doing anything illegal, you're not trying to launder money, you're not committing fraud, you're not ripping people off, you're not doing anything that, oh, if the government sees this, I'm doomed. Well, if you're not doing any of that, there's nothing to worry about. However, what I do worry about is when the government has truly achieved that power, how high will taxes go knowing there's no way you can avoid it or evade it? That's what concerns me, because those are decisions that these governments make for us. And if they decide, hey, we're cashless, everything's on the blockchain, everything you do is trackable, and we believe you should be paying 80% taxes on every dollar you make, they can do that, and you have no choice. That's what scares me. That it's this totalitarian kind of system that could someday be a reality. That concerns me. So I don't know. Maybe when that day comes, maybe we'll all be older and there'll be so many other things in place to offset some of that pain. But I definitely feel like I could. My barber just told me I was a prophet yesterday, and I thought that was kind of funny. We were exchanging a lot of stories and things, and I'm like, I don't think it's that. I just feel things. I kind of get an idea, and I put, A, B, and C together, and then I form kind of my own, hypothesis, if you will. I don't really consider it anything overly special, but anyway, DeFi's death by 1,000 cuts. Now, they said that 2020 was the year of DeFi. Perhaps 2020 should be the year of DeFi's sensible regulation. Now, this takes me back to, pretty much the beginning, where I was basically showing the crypto market. When you look at the market, it's a lot of this DeFi stuff that's just sucking up all the money. You've got growth DeFi doing really well. Prices even higher, I think it was a little bit than it was when I started this video. Like, it's just growing across the board. It's really growing, doing well. I think that legitimate DeFi projects especially DeFi projects that prove themselves over time. There's no rug pull or there's a lockup or whatever. DeFi projects that earn the trust of the community, boom, they take off. The ones that don't, those are the ones that end up getting rug pulled. Those are the ones that typically end up running into a lot of issues. And the SEC and all these other regulatory bodies, they're looking at this and they're like, no. You're not going to get to choose whether or not you're honest or what you do to the people. We're going to start regulating you. And I think that a lot of these regulations are going to slow DeFi to some degree, which is one of the reasons why I've been extremely bullish on Celsius. And none of this is paid. This is just my thoughts. And I'm just showing you what I think. But like Alex said, I mean, they're registered with the SEC. They've been playing. You can't go head to head with the banks, basically flipping them the finger while like taking on all the market cap and a lot of the money, handling the loans and doing everything Celsius Network does. If you're not doing it legit, right? And I don't think somebody who's already as wealthy as Alex is with the reputation he has is going to do any kind of rug pull on anyone. I'm pretty sure everybody believes wholeheartedly that Celsius Network is where it's at. Everything else, yeah, you might make quicker gains, but you could also, maybe you go up 1,000% tonight and you're like, woo, I just invested in this random DeFi application. It's up 1,000%. I'm rich. And then the next day it gets rug pulled and all your money's gone. It doesn't really mean shit anyway. That's one of the reasons why I'm so squeamish about so many of these DeFi applications, because let's face the facts. 95% of DeFi is a cash grab. It's a cash grab from the developers and it's a cash grab from the investors. Everybody's trying to make a quick buck because DeFi is the new blockchain. Remember when all these companies back in the day were just adding blockchain to their names because they would watch their stocks rise? Wasn't there like a catch-up or something that changed its name to something blockchain and its stock rose a whole bunch and then they got sued for it? It was something crazy. I don't remember what it was. It was some random product that had nothing to do with blockchain. So I think that ultimately, as regulation continues to set in, we're going to start seeing more and more of the money that would otherwise generally be going into a lot of these DeFi applications in hopes of like 1,000x returns overnight. And I do believe we're going to start seeing more of that money bleed into the general altcoin market. And when it does, it's going to be based on the fundamentals, the team, and the track record over the bear market. So, we'll again, as I always say, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, DeFi is going to be more and more regulated. If anything, I think it's more dangerous. DeFi, to me, on some degree, is more dangerous than the ICO bubble. I really do. Cardano's working on something that could solve Twitter's decentralization dilemma. Twitter has faced condemnation over the last few days after it decided to ban U.S. President Donald Trump from its social media platform. I'm not even going to get started on any of that because I'll probably cry, yell, scream, and go nuts and get banned. I've said countless times that anything that I say, it has not been about support for Trump because it's not. I was telling my wife recently, and she knows how I feel about all this stuff. Like, I was never even political until I started seeing so much of this stuff. When Trump was running for president, I thought, oh my gosh, this douchebag is running for office. And that was what I thought. I'm like, we've got somebody from The Apprentice who's running for president. Are you kidding me? Like, what? And just all of it just sounded funny. It sounded like a bit of a joke. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. And I didn't even pay much attention to any of it. I feel like all of the craziness surrounding it is what has drawn me in, because it's not even about him, honestly. I don't think it is. I think it's about everything that's been going on for so long, very comfortably, that I don't know. I don't like anything that I'm seeing. I truly don't. I don't like anything. I think it's all wrong. I think it's all disgusting. And I even started unfollowing people on my own Facebook because I'm like, I just can't take it anymore. You're all so ignorant. And it's one thing to I feel like so many people are so dialed in with such a narrow-minded focus on specific things, and everything else around that very narrow-minded focus is ignored. And it's like, if you try to like share things that are factual, you try to share things with people and they just shun it, and they're like, oh, I'm not reading that crap, and I'm not blah blah blah. They make all these excuses. It's like, you choose to be in this bubble, and if you choose to be in that bubble, that's fine. Then keep your mouth shut, because you don't know what you're talking about. What you're doing is, you are, I don't know what they're doing. It's like everybody's got an agenda, and I just don't understand it. But it's so much of it is just wrong. And I feel like I'm very, very objective when I look at what's happening on either side. And there's right or wrong. I mean, let's face it. And I'm seeing a lot more wrong than I am right. But anyway, Twitter CEO admires Bitcoin. While trying to garner support, Jack said that he likes Bitcoin because of its decentralized power that doesn't allow it to be dictated by any one person or entity. He agreed that although it was imperative for Twitter to ban people that don't play by its rules, the policy would be catastrophic in the long run and needs to be kept in check. I don't know. Is that like... I dare I say, is it like somebody who gets like all these terrible urges to do terrible things? They just can't help themselves. He's like, somebody catch me before, like, I don't know, like, what is this? Twitter is funding a development team. Apparently, as can be understood from a recent tweet by the CEO, Twitter is currently channeling funds to a group of developers in an effort to create a decentralized social media network on which Twitter can run. Okay. For some time, there have been rumors that Twitter is indeed involved in a special project to create a blockchain-based network. The project is dubbed Blue Sky. It's not yet clear when or where the project will be launched upon completion. Okay, on the other hand, some in the crypto and blockchain community don't think it's a good idea for Twitter to develop an in-house decentralized system. That's at least according to one of the most popular developers in the field, Cardano's Charles Hoskinson. Hoskinson is the founder of Cardano and CEO of IOHK, the company that created Cardano. Hoskinson commented on Jack's thread saying that Dorsey shouldn't build the decentralized system in-house, especially because he's already involved with Twitter. A strongly centralized network is evident in the banning of Trump. Instead, Hoskinson said that the system should be made open source to allow more players from the larger blockchain community to contribute. Now, is Hoskinson or is Cardano working on a decentralized social media network? In the same tweet, Hoskinson seemed to give away some piece of information, albeit very minute. He intimated that Cardano is working on something. A lot of people may have taken this to mean that Cardano is working on its own open source decentralized social network. Well, what I'm hoping this is in regards to is a potential relationship with CME social media, which I've been trying to usher in now for a while. We've had a couple of meetings. I've been in one of them, but I don't know. They could have something else going on that I don't even know anything about. It could have something to do with CME. I don't know. I'm very hopeful because CME already has a very strong platform and a very strong foundation already established. So, We'll see. I'm very hopeful, though. I will say that I would really like to see CME. It's CME.social, and I'd like to see them on the Cardano blockchain. And I in talking to Charles, he's got a lot of ideas. That's the thing about Charles; he's so brilliant, and he has so many ideas. And he can turn on any mind he needs. Like, I've noticed the one thing about Charles, he can be very direct and very like crisp, clean, like boom, 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 boom. Or he can run off in thought about it in a million different directions at once. He can be creative. He can be logical. He could be financially. He's a lot of different things wrapped up into one person. So we'll see what happens. Cardano doesn't need CME. No. No, you're right. It doesn't need it. It's not about a need. It's about a desire to grow in different directions and utilize the power of the Cardano blockchain to do things that nobody else is really doing. You know, we know what it's like to have blockchains that are so-called Ethereum killers that do nothing but attract, gambling applications and adult websites and things like that. We know what that looks like. It doesn't look like anything. It looks like stagnance. That's what it looks like. Nothing's going on. Cardano's true focus I do believe Cardano's true focus is not just about building a blockchain that solves all of the problems that are posed by Ethereum, but really providing an outlet for developers to create anything they want in like a variety of different languages, and really help facilitate their needs so that they can help change the world. And I wholeheartedly believe this. You know, when I look at so many of these different blockchain based projects, you know, I feel like we're still early, folks. I don't know what else to say other than we're still very, very early. And there's so much happening. There's so much more going on behind the scenes that we just aren't even privy to. But I see so much potential. And you know, I saw somebody on Twitter post, you know, why you trust? Why you care so much about you trust? Isn't there, you know, there's this app and there's that app, and they're all competing with or working with PayPal. Why you trust? And I responded, I said, because you know what? I have talked to Nuno now so many times over the years, and I'm so aware of how they've grown as a team and how Nuno hasn't changed. Nuno's passion, his drive, and his desire to build something great for everybody that everybody can trust, that's not greedy. It's not about insane fees and how it can screw over the customer, or how it can, it's not, they didn't build you trust with this corporate, capitalistic, greedy kind of mentality or business model. They built this as a decentralized way of facilitating transactions through e-commerce, utilizing cryptocurrencies. And when, for me, I am about the people, the way I've been about Charles with Cardano, the way I've been about Alex with Celsius, the way I've been about Nuno with Utrust, the way I've been about Nick with Divi. There are so many different projects out there where I am as interested or more interested in the individual leading them than I am the project itself, because I believe that these individuals' missions, their passion is pure, and they remind me of me if I were in their shoes. And that's what drives me. I think to some degree I see these people as people I wish I could be more like to achieve what they want. I've always wanted to be a programmer. I've always wanted to create something that I felt would change the world. And so I find those people that are doing what I think I would if I were them, and I support them 1,000%. Because if anything, it's me living vicariously through them, so I could at least say I played a role. You can too, and now's the time. Crow your coins, folks. Have a good afternoon. Enjoy your week. I'm sure I'll see you again tomorrow.